So recently we were both doing, we both read Dracula. I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah.
I've read about 75% of it, approximately. 76, I think, by my Kindle. But,
Yeah.
So a good way through, but it's not quite at the end. Just after, well, it would be a spoiler if I said it maybe to people that haven't seen it. Because
200-year-old book.
Well, 100-year-old. But
Is it 100? I thought it was 200.
No, it's like 100 years old.
Okay.
But I didn't know the story. I still don't know the story. I don't know how it ends. I know how it ends. I know that Dracula gets stabbed through the heart and his head chopped off.
Yeah.
But I don't know how, because I had no idea, like, any of the characters, any of the pacing, like, how, this is what I thought Dracula was, roughly. I thought there was some guy, like, classical Victorian hero character.
Yeah.
He's invited to Dracula's manor in London, and he walks around, and Dracula has his servant Renfield, and the guy realizes that Dracula's a vampire through whatever means.
Yeah.
Maybe he sees him abducting women from the town or something, and so he readies... Is that Nosferatu? Is that why I think it's that way?
I don't know. The plot for Nosferatu is like almost identical to Dracula.
Okay, because there is a story I swear I read at one point that was like this. Anyways, the guy sees all the women getting abducted or something and gets... This part I'm not really sure how it would go in my head, but I always thought Van Helsing was some sort of monster hunter, adventurer. Like
That's what Hugh Jackman was.
Like, I see him as... like the manhunter hunters in India, like the guys that hunt tigers.
Yeah.
Like I thought Van Helsing was sort of like that.
Yeah, so that probably is like culturally absorbed from the Hugh Jackman movie Van Helsing, where Van Helsing is like a young, like maybe 20s, 30 character.
Yeah.
And Harkin
Yeah.
is like even younger, and that was played by Neo from The Matrix.
Oh, the Canadian dude.
Yeah, so those are the two characters, but Van Helsing's a servant of the Vatican, and he's got like a repeating crossbow that fires stakes shaped like a cross, and he can turn to a werewolf to fight Dracula.
That was meant to be a bit of a comedy, right, or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman...
It's like people at the time lambasted the movie for being kind of bad.
Yeah.
It is quite funny. The special effects, like there's a few that are bad, but most of them are actually incredible. And it's just like, it's good action. Like, it's really good action.
And as I understand it, Hugh Jackman is actually, like, quite, like, classically educated guy. Like, I believe he's, like, read a lot of classics.
Yes, he performs in operas and plays.
And that sort of thing. Yeah, so he's also Australian, I think.
Yes.
Not Dutch. But I didn't even know Van Helsing was, like, I thought he was, like, British or something, but he's Dutch in the book. So, yeah, I didn't know the plot at all, basically. But I do want to talk a bit about Dracula. But I think we can do it mostly spoiler-free, because the stuff that I want to talk about is more actually, like, the stuff about vampires in general.
Yep.
But also, and this is a bit wider, but it's the Victorian era culture was weird. Like, it was really, really, really weird.
You don't say.
You doping for the podcast? What is that?
It is brandy.
Oh, yes. So,
Brandy and flowers.
that's one of the things that's very
Brandy
weird.
and poisonous flowers, actually.
Okay, so that's one of the things that's weird, right? You have this woman. She's lost like 3/4 of her blood. She's on her deathbed dying, and the doctors rush in. They're like, quickly, fetch the brandy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Thin her blood.
What do you do when someone has like almost no blood left? You just make them down a glass of brandy.
Well, it's actually, they rubbed it into her gums.
Yeah, but then there's another point where I believe
the men would drink wine afterwards. He'd get them to drink wine.
I believe Harkin was wounded at one point, and so he gets him to drink a glass of brandy.
Yeah.
To restore him.
It's spirit.
Yeah.
It's literally medicine. Like, it's spirits.
Yeah, but like blood alcohol level is based on the ratio of your blood to the amount of alcohol you're taking.
Yeah.
If you've lost 3 liters of blood and then you down a glass of brandy, you're just gonna be like, gonna kill you.
Also, the amount of opium they use.
Yeah. I think that's what did Lucy in, actually, was drinking the brandy. Like, she just... Well, they didn't actually use opium, really. Like, the maids drank a bunch of laudanum, right?
Yeah.
But that was... I think it's... I'm under the impression Dracula forced them to drink the laudanum.
He poisoned...
Or, no, he put the laudanum in the wine, right? Or something?
Yeah. They went downstairs, and so it's sleeping medicine. So laudanum is, if I recall correctly, it is 1 part opium in liquid form. So because people usually turn opium into pucks and you smoke it.
Yeah.
So it's 1 part opium liquid form, which already has a way lower concentration because it's not in the puck. And I think it's 2 to 3 parts brandy and like a fourth or an eighth iodine or something else.
There's like marijuana or something, wasn't it? I don't remember.
But it's the major ingredients in
it's heroin basically.
The major ingredients are opium and brandy.
Yeah. So the the whole like quickly get the alcohol for every like issue. That one's a bit weird. There's a part where Renfield is I don't know why. I think this was the first time he was attacked by Dracula. His head is smashed against the step or like
the floor.
But he has a piece of skull pressing on his brain basically, and so they're like, okay, let's just cut a hole in his skull to ease the pressure on his brain basically. Yeah. And that one actually, on retrospect, probably makes sense. Like, like you've just caved his skull, and you probably do need to relieve pressure, or at least get rid of the bone fragments in his brain, sort of thing. Okay, so that one makes sense. But it's actually the gender dynamics that really throw me. But I think I came up with a bit of a solution for it. Okay, so first of all, actually no, I want to go back to another point that annoys me. Right, Victorian writing is not very good in some ways, and this is what I mean. So there is 5 main characters in the story. There is 4 men. And there's a woman. Those are the main characters. So all these guys are the people that are going to take down Dracula, right? And the reason they want to take down Dracula, 3 of the men want to take down Dracula because the love of their life was murdered by Dracula, right? And they saw her slowly losing blood, mysteriously fading away, and then they learned it was Dracula stealing her blood, and she died. And so tragedy, right? So these 3 men are united in their purpose to take down Dracula. Yeah. The 4th man is the doctor that failed to save her. And so he also wants to take down Dracula because he fell in love with the girl just as more of a paternal way. Yeah. And he saw her slowly losing blood, fading away, becoming pale, and died. Yeah. The woman that wants to take down Dracula, she saw her best friend losing blood, turning pale, and dying. Yeah. Yeah. So when that woman starts turning pale and is weak and is having terrible nightmares, just like the other woman did, the men ignore it completely.
We kind of are missing the 5th man, who's also a main character.
The 5th man, is it Renfield?
No, Harkin.
Harkin's one of the 3 men. Oh, no, he isn't. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, so there's 6 people then. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, the Vampire Hunters of Dracula isn't Van Helsing. There's 6 vampire hunters.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, Van Helsing's one of them. Yeah. Yeah. But, okay, yeah, sorry, Harkin as well.
Yeah. See, Harkin's a major character.
This is another problem with the Victorian culture. There's 2 Johns as the main characters.
Yes.
You can't just make 2 of your main characters have the same name.
Only Van Helsing calls the doctor John. Yeah. No one else calls him John.
Yeah, but you can't just have 2 Johns as your main character.
And he becomes Mr. Harkin because he's married. And another confusing thing is that...
Mina changes name halfway through the book.
No, not even Mina. William.
Oh, the Lord?
Yeah.
No, Arthur. I think
Arthur, yeah, sorry. Arthur is called Arthur until his father dies, then he gets his inheritance, and then he becomes Lord Wilberforce or something. Or
No, the really weird thing. So his name is Arthur Woodhouse.
Yeah.
Right. Or I think it's Woodholm. I think.
Yeah, Woodholm.
Arthur Woodholm. When his father dies, he becomes Lord Goldblum or something. Like, it's not his last name at all. It's a totally different name. I guess it's the estate that they have rule over or something.
Well, also the other weird thing is his estate side basically doubled. Yeah. Because he got not only his own, he got Lucy's estate.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so, that's another thing you remind me of, is going back to Victorian culture, right? So, Arthur and John Seward, like the doctor.
Dr. Seward.
Yeah, Dr. Seward, are both fairly wealthy men. Like John Seward is a brilliant psychologist, so brilliant at the age of 29 he was given command of an entire insane asylum. Yeah. And then Arthur's a lord. So they're both quite wealthy. Lucy's family was also quite wealthy, but they were sort of like the fading nobility. They don't have any heirs, and so they give the house to Arthur. Yeah. So they're all rich, that makes sense. Yeah. There is a part where Mina specifically says that her and her John will have to go about it the hard way because they're not wealthy people. But John is like a brilliant upcoming lawyer, right? Yeah. So he's a solicitor. He specializes in legal affairs and writing like property write-ups, basically, leases, like that sort of thing. So they're quite poor. They're not poor, but
they started out poor. So Lucy's an orphan. Yeah. Who became a grammar school teacher who taught young women etiquette, and then John Harkin was a poor common man who became apprentice to a solicitor.
Do you read the indexes or something? Is there extended lore somewhere? Or is it just like...
It's like really muddled details you have to piece together. It's mentioned that she was she was a teacher. A teacher once, and it talks about him. And then he was a desk clerk who became the solicitor's favorite desk clerk. Yeah. And because the solicitor didn't have any sons,
he adopted him.
He adopted him.
But that's a bit later in the book. And then when he adopts him, suddenly he has that solicitor's house and everything. So he becomes
and
wealthy.
His company.
Yeah. But before John becomes wealthy, like Mina is saying, like, we're gonna have to work hard to save up to get a house and to have a family and everything. And yet, when Harkin is visiting Dracula in Transylvania in his castle, he's weirded out by the fact that when he rings the bell, no servants come running.
Oh yeah, no, the Victorians, like, they have...
And you tell me that I live in the wealthiest time in human history when there's some random poor lawyer who's weirded out that there's no servants around.
No, Victorian servant culture was so bizarre that a head nurse... Sorry, not a head nurse, because they'd stick around. Let's say a middling butler. If he wasn't in-house or he was doing a week on, a week off, which is what they do, on his week off, he would go home and be treated by servants. And there is this article where someone said, I have no idea where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
It was written in Victoria. Because he said, at 5:30, like it's very popular, he's like, at 5:30 a.m. I get up and go to John Smith's house to be his servant. I am his servant until 12 a.m. where he can no longer afford to pay me. But he says he likes to have me around at breakfast. I am a good conversation. I can get the place tidy. I myself then am paid enough and I head home. Then John Smith comes to my house and is my manservant from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. He is an excellent conversation. He's wonderful on the piano.
Wait, so there's two men paying each other?
Yes. And so that's why the article was, I have no idea where the money's coming from.
They're just paying each other to hang out.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your job? Oh, I just hang out with my buddy all day.
I think it was a satirical piece that the guy wrote, basically talking about how people are servants and then they have lower class people become their servants. Yeah. And then there's like the low strung people in society.
The other thing you have to keep in mind, right? I think I, right now, probably make a little bit less than a junior lawyer. But not significant. Like, I have a job that actually pays quite well for what it is, right? Yeah. So I would say I probably make a little bit less than a junior lawyer, but like probably not crazy amount.
Lawyers make insane amounts of money.
Yeah, but like a complete junior, you just started at a firm, that sort of thing. Yeah. Like Harkin, right?
Yeah,
junior lawyer. He's not even a full solicitor, right? By the time when the story starts, like he gets his solicitorship from securing the deal with Dracula.
Yeah.
So he's like on probation basically, and so he's probably making. And he was at school before then, so he wasn't even making lawyer money until recently. Right? Yeah. The other thing is, I think if I was married to someone who was also working a job equivalent to mine, the two of us together would not be able to afford a servant that a single Victorian junior lawyer apparently can have.
Well, so the other thing is he's a lawyer. Their job is to work with rich people, and Dracula's a rich person's house, so that's part of the reason he's weirded out is the rich person doesn't have servants.
So he is used to having them around.
Yeah.
But then, like, you look at Lucy's mom, who does nothing. Like, she's dying for a living, basically. She has 3 or 4 servants.
Yeah, so she's a lord.
And then Mina has a servant, doesn't she? There's that one point where Mina calls the maid to her or something.
Yeah, Mina has her own servant. Actually, this is a little bit, this is my own thoughts. Mina doesn't have a servant.
There's a part where maybe that's after they get the house that she dismisses the maid.
They get the house. But before that, Mina's actually a lady's maid to Lucy.
Yeah, she's like Lucy's.
That's why she sleeps in Lucy's beds and they're best friends to each other. It's literally
Mina's
how
Lucy's
it would
servant.
have worked is it wouldn't have been talked about, but Mina was hired to be Lucy's friend.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, that's how it worked. So basically, Lucy's mom basically hired Mina to be her friend.
That was the other thing, was the whole...
And then there's Quincy, who probably made his money from oil.
Yeah, well, Quincy's just an American. He's just a stereotypical American. There's a part...
He goes out hunting a lot.
There's a part where they're all standing in the house discussing what they're going to do. And then the window explodes and a bullet ricochets off the roof and they're like, what on earth? And then Quincy comes back and he's like, thought I saw a bat, so I went outside to shoot out the window and kill it.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I like Quincy.
He's just an American.
Yeah.
And it's weird though because the way Quincy talks is actually quite normal. Like you see Quincy talking, you're like, that's how a person talks.
Yeah.
But then everyone's like, he said it in the shorthand way of an American, or he used American slang, and it's like, isn't that just normal phrases? Going back to Lucy like sleeping with Mina, right?
Yeah.
The Victorian friendship was also very different. Like I've read about this in not just Dracula, but other places. But you have Lucy and Mina sharing either a room or a bed.
A bed. It was a ridiculously big bed they both sleep on.
And, like, Mina dresses and undresses Lucy. And is, like, that alone is something that friends wouldn't do today. Like, that'd be weird. Like, you're dressing your friend, you're undressing your friend. Like, that's a weird thing to do. And then also, like, sleeping with your friend. And and the other things like looking after her, that's just, you're looking after her because you're worried about her. But that's, nowadays we'd call that gay, right? And I think there was a degree, because you look at, where have I seen this? It was Saudi Arabia or something, or Jordan, I think. You'll see men in like videos, if you look at like these countries, like today, walking down the street holding hands.
Yeah.
Like that's what friends do in a lot of these Islamic countries.
Yeah.
Is friends hold hands and walk down the street like guys.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if the acceptance of homosexuality also led to the desire to not appear homosexual. Because if no one's allowed to be homosexual, you can do whatever you want because it's not gay. You wouldn't break the law. It's not gay.
Well,
right?
as the original condition known as homophobia, it was actually considered a condition, which was the
fear of appearing gay, or
it was the irrational fear of appearing gay or having people think you're gay.
So do you think?
And so you would be diagnosed with homophobia.
So do you think Western nations are actually more homophobic and under that framework than
they very well might be
than like African or Islamic countries? Although Africa might be a bit different because I think there's actually I don't know African culture very well, and of course there's tons of cultures in Africa, but I think it might actually be dangerous there. Whereas in Islamic countries, I mean, obviously it's illegal and can be punished by death in Islamic countries, but I think there is a degree of like, well obviously they're not gay, so
the weird thing with Islamic countries is it's a religion that wants to put gay people to death.
Yeah.
But a lot of their cultures actually have a lot of
gay
things going on.
Well, that we would consider gay.
Well, they have like the practice, and part of it is even caused by Islam. They have the practice of boys dressing as women, but without the burqa, to dance with men.
Yeah, to avoid being gay. Because you can't be, well, not to be gay, but to be with women. And, like they'll have, I saw a video of it was like a ball or something, like a diplomat's ball, where they needed to have women, just pretty women around, but they had to hire men to do it because you can't have, so it's not gay, it's under Islam, it's just gay to a Western sort of aesthetic. It's the same thing that like the Greeks probably for the most part weren't gay. Yeah. It's just like pedastry was what we would call gay and rapey, but them it was more about fealty and submission.
And even then, even if they had the quote unquote practice of pedastry, it was probably like 1 in 10 of them that actually did anything to their student.
Yeah, like I was reading about Nero, and it's one of those rare cases where you're like, okay, maybe this guy was actually like bisexual, like because he did marry several men, which does
Nero or Caligula?
Nero. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so he married this, she was like this poor, possibly a prostitute at one point or something, but she's this poor woman. Yeah. They were madly in love, they loved each other hugely. She ended up dying young for some reason. He married a second woman.
Dying young, she's probably assassinated.
Well, I mean, it's Nero's family, so yeah, probably. He married a second woman who he loved massively as well. Yeah. He kicked her to death, potentially. Now, keep in mind, the problem with Nero is that there's like 4 historians who wrote about Nero, and all of them hated him. Yeah. The one who hated him the least, I think, was Tacitus. And Tacitus didn't say he kicked her to death. He said it was probably the childbirth did her in. Yeah. Because she was pregnant when he kicked her, right? So, yeah. And Tacitus still hated Nero. So
yeah, that's the same thing with Caligula.
Because the thing about like the Year of the 5 Emperors, which happened right after Nero, was one of the first and the most successful ones. What was his name? It was like Olo or Obo or something. I don't know my Roman guys too much. But he was trying to imitate Nero when he came to power because he wanted to please the people. Which makes me think most people actually probably liked Nero. Yeah. I think he was probably more like a Trump-like figure.
Yeah, well, secondary accounts of Nero, of like not by the historians, not by the ruling class, but like you can get history by reading letters people sent to each other, events and things went on. Nero actually seemed very popular among the plebs.
Yeah. And he also, like, I believe during the Fire of Rome, I think he was the one that paid the vigils, I think that's what they're called, the firefighters, to actually, like, fight it. Like, I think that was his money that actually saved the city.
Yeah, well, there's a weird mix because it's also, like, the account says he fiddled while Rome burned. Another one is Nero was a bit of a nutcase with a fiddle. And one of the newer historical accounts is he ran around basically shrieking the fiddle to get people's attention so he could have like them run and deal with the fire because he's a popular guy everyone knew.
I think the actual because things grow in the telling, right? But I think from the 4 like actual like secondary sources, what they said about it was basically it wasn't that he caused the fire so much or that he that he fiddled as he's burned meant he just stood by idly, right? That's kind of what they're getting at. But there was a large section of Rome that burnt down, when it was cleared, he had a manor put on it for himself. And so the question is, did he tell them, leave that section alone so that I can buy it cheap, basically, and take the land? So that might have been more what he did. But anyways, marrying them. So that second wife died, and then apparently, this one I'm a little more doubtful of, but there's, people to talk about it. He was traveling in Greece or something, and he saw a boy that looked a lot like his wife. And so he had the boy castrated and married him. And then he also married like his best friend or something. And he had like 3 or 4 concurrent wives. And I wonder if that was more of a ritualistic thing than like an actual marriage. Because like the marriage with the adult man that he married, it seemed more like, I think Nero dressed up in like a bride's outfit or something like, there was some weirdness going on. Anyways, going back to Victorian times. Yeah. The Romans were a whole
much more sensible time.
Yes. So now getting to the gender dynamics, which confuse me, but I think it kind of I have an explanation maybe for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, the main characters besides Mina and Van Helsing are all about 30 years old.
Yeah.
Harkin might be a little bit younger, but
I think he is.
I think most of the characters are about 30 years old. Lucy and Mina are like, Lucy's 19, and then Mina is either younger or a little bit younger or a little bit older than Lucy.
Mina's in her 20s.
Okay, so Mina's a tiny bit older then. Yeah, so Lucy's 19, and...
Yeah, so
the
Mina
only teenagers
and John Harkin
Harkin
grew up together.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've been friends since they were little kids.
Okay, so they're the same age. Yeah.
Well, I think he's still a little older,
But yeah, so Lucy we know for sure is 19, and we know that John Seward for sure is 29.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they also said John is the youngest of the 3 men.
Yeah.
So you've got John at 29, you've got Quincy probably close to 29, maybe 30, 31, somewhere in there. And then Arthur was suggested to be a little bit older because he's actually the friend of Lucy's mother.
Yeah.
So Arthur's probably like mid-30s to early 40s, somewhere in there. Although that said, Van Helsing does call Arthur a young man. So he's going to be below 40 probably.
Van Helsing's quite old, actually.
Yeah, I guess there's that.
Van Helsing's like 65.
Yeah. So Arthur's probably 40 or younger, and then John Seward is like 29, and then Quincy is probably between the two somewhere.
Yeah.
And all 3 of them are competing for the affection of this 19-year-old girl.
Yeah. They're also all best friends who would go hunting together and sleep in the same house together.
Yeah. So they're like 3 great men who are all best of friends, and they all love Lucy, and Lucy loves all of them. But the thing is, none of them date Lucy ever in the entire story. Only one of them ever kisses her, and that's after she dies.
Yeah.
So first of all, how dating would work is apparently you go up to this woman that is your best friend's daughter.
Yeah.
Right, because Arthur is friends with Lucy's mom. So like you go to your best friend's daughter and you say, hey, I'd like to marry you. Like, you don't know this person. You're just like, hey, I'm a rich cowboy from Texas and I'd like to marry you.
Well, no, Lucy did talk with them. Like, she talked about the reasons she loved each of them, and she would, like, stand at the park with them and hold their hand.
But the time frame, at the start of the story is when she meets them, right? And the story takes place over about a year.
Yeah.
So she had about 6 months to get to know these guys, maybe, at most. Like, probably more like 3 months.
Yeah.
Because she talks about how Arthur would spend time with her mother.
Yeah.
And then Arthur has brought a friend by that he's introduced me to his friend that he thinks would be perfect for me, which is John Seward, the physician, the psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist asked me, also Quincy, he's like a third wheel in everything. Like, he's a third wheel in the story. It's like, okay, so Arthur's like, I want my best friend to marry this girl. They're perfect for each other.
Yeah.
And so John goes and says, I'd love to marry you. And she says, no, I fall in love with Arthur, like your friend, basically. Yeah. And Arthur also fell in love with her. Why is Quincy there? Like, why does he propose to her as well? It's like, Quincy, nobody invited.
Because he's the guy who talks to her the most straightforwardly. That's why she loved Quincy, is he actually is like, but he's human.
But why was he there? Like, so they're all at Lucy's mom's house, and then they're just like...
Well, he's staying there because he's staying with the Lord.
Right, but why is he... The Lord's like, I'm going to go see my girlfriend. It's like, can I come along?
Well, you just bring your friends with you.
Yeah, I guess. They're just lollygagging about everything. Yeah.
He has nothing else to do. Like, literally, he has nothing else to do but come be his friend around.
Okay, so anyways. So you're 30 years old.
Yeah.
You go out. You ask a 19-year-old who's... I'm just trying to think this through, right?
A 19-year-old who's an airhead.
So if I have an older... I don't have any friends with like a 20-year-old or 19-year-old daughter. But I'm just thinking, like, you spend a bunch of time with them, and then you're like, I'm going to marry your daughter. And it's like... I mean, okay, I'm not going to say... Look, 19, 30, that's 10 years. That's not actually a crazy age gap, right? Like even 20-year age gap won't be the craziest sometimes. But I do you remember this? It really depends on the people.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you remember our stepsister's friend for a while was dating a 30-year-old when she was 18. And the guy was like he acted like he was 40. Like not in terms of like he was very mature, but in terms of like he was afraid to talk to children, and he was more comfortable around like the parents of his girlfriend, basically. Do you remember this guy?
No.
Okay. He like if you're someone I can't say the names, but I've known some guys, like one of my friend's fathers.
Yeah.
Her dad is a guy that he would get along with the kids. He'd play with them. He'd hang out. He's not an immature guy by any means, but he has the energy to spend time. Because it's not so much about maturity, right? It's about energy. Like someone who's 19, they're looking for a career. They're looking for a job. They're looking for a house. Someone who's 30 is looking to have children. And those aren't going to be compatible a lot of the time because someone's going to have to give up on their dreams, right?
Yeah.
And also, the 19-year-old is like, I want to go to the park and play in the flowers. And the 30-year-old's going to be like, that's stupid. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
My bones hurt. What? I'm not going to do that, right? So you need people, if they're in their 30s, they need to have a lot of energy. They need to have a lot of willingness to make sudden changes.
Yeah.
And also there's so much learning that goes on, like, as you age, that you will essentially be raising the 19-year-old to a little degree, right? Like, they do have some learning going on. You're going to be raising that person a little bit. And so it's a bit of a gap. But anyways, when Van Helsing is at Lucy's funeral, he breaks down into hysterics. He can't handle himself anymore. He goes, he excuses himself, he hides. Yeah. He starts laughing his head off.
Yes.
And it freaks out John Seward, who's like, what do you think you're doing? You're acting like a woman. And so John decides the only way to like help him is he's acting like a woman, so you have to treat him like a woman, and you have to be very stern with him. Yeah. It's like, wait, what is your train of logic here? Like, okay, your master is going crazy from grief, and so you're like, you have to treat him like a woman and be stern. Like, is that what you do when a woman loses her head? Is you just like, no, come here now, stop that, behave yourself.
His whole talk about King Laugh, you would be a little concerned. Yeah. It's like, when King Laugh comes, you can't stop him.
But is that like your solution? Do you think being stern to someone who's losing it is really going to solve their problem? And then there's Mina, right? Who, when she learns about Dracula, I believe, she like, all strength leaves her and she just kind of goes limp in her chair. Yeah. And so then John has to leap up and rub a bit of brandy in her lips, because it cures everything, to reinvigorate her, right? Yeah. And Mina writes in her diary, luckily I'm not one that faints. Yeah. So the assumption is that most women would have fainted upon hearing about Dracula.
Yeah, no, Mina has a man's brain.
Yeah, Mina has a man's brain and a woman's heart. I want to get to that as well, because that's really interesting.
Mina's a fascinating character, actually.
But, because she's actually very similar to Van Helsing, because Van Helsing has a man's brain and a woman's heart. Yeah. Because they both embody the virtues of man and woman. Yeah. So first of all, what I do like about the gender dynamic, and it's something that you don't see in almost any story, especially these days, is Mina having a man's brain and a woman's heart is meant to be a massive compliment. Yeah. Because it's meant to be, she's as... I came up with a way to phrase it, I think, which is that... This isn't in the book or anything. This is my own phraseology here. But basically, a woman has the strength to face the storm. A man has a strength to face the dark of night. Yeah. Because there's a part where Arthur, for like a week after Lucy dies or something, he's basically dying eternally, like internally. Like he is falling apart. But he when he's with his friends, he acts normal. He puts on a brave face. And then he goes and he's just one-on-one with Mina for a little bit. And he breaks down into tears and just falls and collapses and just puts his head on her shoulder and just starts sobbing his heart out. And Mina says, like, he desperately needed to cry, but the only people in his life are men because his mother's dead, his father's dead, and his 3 best friends are all men. And so he's been falling apart because he doesn't have any way to get out his emotions. Yeah. And then in front of Mina, he's able to cry, but he even tries to hold himself back in front of Mina for a little bit because he's worried that she can't handle the burden. Yeah. But Mina has a strong woman's heart, so she can weather whatever emotional thing happens. And Mina says, like, she basically grows stronger in face of his crying, and she can like handle it because it just washes over her. Yeah. So that's a woman's strength. And so like the virtue of women is very rarely talked about in stories, like, or it's dismissed as like, oh yeah, women can help you when you cry and raise babies. Like, no, this is an incredible strength that even the great Van Helsing and John Seward and John Harkin and Quincy, whatever his name was. Quincy Jones. Like, even those great men are unable to do it, but Mina can. Yeah. So I think that it's nice to see, like, a woman's strength, sort of. And not a woman's strength that's in only a strength women has, but as the feminine virtue of resilience in the face of the storm.
Yeah.
And then there's a part which is really interesting where they decide we're going to hunt down Dracula and kill Dracula. So first thing we have to do is break into his house and see what's in there. And so they're all ready to go. And then they say to Mina, you have to stay behind because we can't be worried about protecting you while we're out there. And also this is men's work. It's too dangerous for you. Or not too dangerous, but it's
too much for you.
Yeah, it's weird how they think about it. It's not too dangerous for her. It's too harsh on her, basically. Yeah. Like it'll scar her mentally, sort of thing. She doesn't have the fortitude for it. And so Mina, in her diary, says, I'm strong enough for it, but if it will make their task easier, then I will pretend to sleep so that they can go out without worrying about me.
Yeah. No, so Mina, there's that aspect to her. Also, her love of Harkin, her husband, is one of the best. Like, it's not budding into romance. It's like her actual love of him is so well written. And so she was a grammar school teacher, teaching ladies how to be posh.
Yeah.
And she's, of course, it's normal now.
Oh, okay.
She's, of course, no longer going to be doing that job because she's marrying her husband. So she's going to be a stay-at-home wife. Mm-hmm. She's the wife of a solicitor. And so she's memorizing every single train route to make his life easier. She wants to learn shorthand so she can read his notes. She's become excellent at using a typewriter. She practices it so she can write stuff for him. It's like she is...
That's another thing, right?
Figuring out every single way she can help him with his job.
This poor beginning solicitor and his wife's family.
Yeah.
The moment he's ill, she's like, book me a train ticket to Budapest. I'm like, from London to Budapest. It's like, look at these poor people. We live in the richest time in history now. Yeah, sure we do.
Yeah.
The problem with Victorian novels, though, of course, is that most Victorian authors were quite wealthy. So the way they conceptualize wealth is different.
Yes.
And also, I think, I get the...
Well, Mina would have been, even though she's an orphan, she would have been poor middle class.
Yeah. Well, also, she probably has savings, right?
Yeah.
And so she's probably willing to burn all her savings in order to go see John, because he's dying, right? So, so I think she's willing to do it.
Yeah. There's another detail that a lot of just medias get wrong, is John's hair turned white from his interaction with Dracula.
Did it?
Yeah. So after he fell in the river and recovered, he went through a huge shock, and his hair turned white, and so he looks like an old and young man at the same time. So that's actually an important thing about John, is he's old and young at the same time, because he's got white hair.
He fell in the river? Because I didn't quite figure out how he left Dracula's castle. Because
so...
he was locked inside.
So how he gets out of
And then the nomads were charging up the stairs towards him, and I don't know what he did.
So what he did is he went out the window again that he used to climb down to Dracula's chamber. And Dracula's castle is on this giant cliff overlooking a river.
Very Scooby-Doo.
And so he jumped off the cliff into the river.
Oh, jeez.
And then he was recovered by the nuns. So he's basically drowned in the river. And then the sisters recovered him.
Okay. Because Dracula, like those nomads were Dracula's servants as far as I can tell.
And so the sisters, he thought he'd basically gone insane from apoplexy.
Yeah.
Which is basically when you have severe physical trauma in Victorian medical science, then you could also
get brain fever.
You could get apoplexy or brain fever, which would make you see things. And so he was worried he went insane because his journal and everything from Dracula's castle seems like the ravings of a madman. And so because he was very physically hurt, he thought he was mentally hurt. And then when he actually sees Dracula and confirms he's real, it gives him relief and horror at the same time. It gives him relief that he's not insane, and it gives him horror that he's not insane.
Because it was all true. Do you think there's something weird? Because a lot of, like I said, Mina is an unusual woman because she doesn't faint. But she still loses all strength from her limbs when she hears bad news. But when men hear bad news, they go insane. They have a brain fever. It's the same in Crime and Punishment. Yeah. After he murders the old woman, he's insane for months on end. He just starts hallucinating. He has this fever. He's sickly. He's pale. He's sleeping poorly. And that's roughly the same time period that story takes place. And it's almost like symptoms are cultural. It's weird because women don't faint these days. And men don't go crazy with brain fever and become weak from stress. They'll do other things. They'll yell, they'll pull their hair, they'll whatever, but they're not going to. And it almost makes me wonder if either humans are evolving rapidly or something, or just maybe there is an expression of stress that needs to be expressed.
Yeah.
And it's culturally transmitted how that's expressed. And I don't know if there's an option, because it would then...
I think it's a mix of culture and psychics. Like, I think humans on a whole are, like, not to be woo-woo about it, but a psychic group, and culture definitely would have influence on
it does. Like, either culture has this massive influence on what you do, and either stress needs to be expressed or it can be ignored, maybe.
Yeah.
Or there is another variable that we're not accounting for, like some sort of psychic bond that is the expression of the will of humanity or something, because it is strange how it changes like that.
Yeah.
So going back to, like, women now.
Yeah.
So he says you have to be quite stern with women when they start losing it. And then Mina is told to stay behind because it will scar her. She can't handle it. And what's another thing that happens with the... there was another, like, young woman thing, or woman thing, rather. But, okay, well, I'll get to my point then, I guess, because I can't remember it. But it is the young woman point. I think the actual gender dynamic in the Victorian era wasn't actually men versus women. I think it was more like 18 and 19-year-olds versus 30 and 40-year-olds. Because all the men were marrying women 10 to 20 years younger than them.
Yeah.
So women were like children to them. And that's because the women were like children to them.
Yeah.
And so I don't think women were more stupid or less mature or less able to handle, like, horrors and darkness and pain and everything. It's young people are less able to handle that sort of thing. And so you do have to treat them more gently, because they're not going to handle that sort of stuff as poorly. And there is also an aspect, sort of initiation. Like, I'm sure you've had it a few times, like your work, you work with mostly older guys, right?
Yeah.
You have this sort of initiation where you go along with the older guys and you do the thing that they're doing, and you're kind of, you don't know what you're doing, but you're just kind of following along and, like, doing what they do. The classic, like, kid helping his dad fix the engine of the car, right? It's like, well, here's the screwdriver. I don't know what it does, but there you go, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
But then eventually you become the dad asking your kid to hand you the screwdriver.
Or apparently culturally traumatizing a whole generation by asking them to hold a flashlight.
Yeah, and then getting annoyed when they do it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, actually, is it's fine to have your kid help out and bumble around and make mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't punish them for it. Like, they shouldn't, they don't have a clue what they're doing, right? And they're not supposed to, because they haven't done it before. They're just supposed, and then they're afraid of doing new things, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. When they take Harkin along with them, even though he's probably a bit younger than them, they are basically strengthening him, right? Because what they're doing is they're saying, we 30-year-olds are going to take this 20-year-old under our wing.
Yeah.
And we're going to get him to because we're strong enough, but we're going to protect him, and then he will become strong enough so that next time he can help the next guy. Yeah. And Van Helsing is basically doing that for everyone. Like, he's the guy, the even older gentleman that's taking the 30-year-olds under his wing. Yeah. And so if that's not happening to you because you're a woman, because you were 10 years younger, and then you're left behind, you become weaker because you're like, oh, that's a man thing, you can't do. I talked about this before with the police, where a police officer probably sees a lot of bodies, right? Yeah. And the average person probably sees no body, or very few. Yeah. Like, they probably see their parents, or, like here and there, like car accident, whatever, but very few. Unless they're like one of those freaks going online and looking online. Yeah. But
even then, I think there's a difference of seeing in person versus seeing online.
Yeah, I'd say probably. So they probably see very few in person for the most part. And we talked about this on a podcast years ago now, I think, where it was like, I feel like I'm an outsider compared to the police officer, like, because they have a broader depth of the world they can handle. Yeah. But maybe it's a good thing that not everyone is in that world.
The police officers guards you against that world.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure what the answer is, but I think in Victorian times, the divide was much more strongly, rather than like police and civilians, it was much more like men and women. Yeah. And so the women are living in the nicer world. Yeah. And then the men are going and they're taking the harsher world. And same with warfare, right? Men are going to that harsh world and the women aren't, especially like that time period. Yeah. And I think that might, it would slowly make it widen the gap, right? Because you're not taking the 20-year-old woman on a 30-year-old man's journey. And then when she's 30, well, she hasn't had 10 years of experience. So you're not taking her on the 30-year-old or the 40-year-old man's journey or the 30-year-old man's journey. And so women are actually more fragile and need to be protected because they haven't had that same strength of character and everything. So I think... Do I have something on my shirt? Maybe. What?
No.
What? You're just looking at my shirt.
Oh, you've got like a black line on there.
Oh, yeah, no, I dropped a pen.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that a lot of the Victorian, like, women fainting and being stupid and weak and, like, you must slap them to keep them in order. Yeah. I think there was a bit of, women were just...
Younger. They were less a partner and...
Yeah, more of a child. Not quite a child, though, obviously, because I think we also have to keep in mind there's...
Well, even in that book, it's very much expressed with Mina of, she's quite actually strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
Who's very much a part of the group of vampire hunters, and she's very much like ready and willing to do everything she can to help her husband in his life to come. And she has a really practical skill set, actually, from trying to prepare for that.
And she also is capable of handling the fears, but in order to strengthen the men, she decides to step back, which is a very difficult thing to do. Like, you're going to leave them to their fate, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to be concerned about her, even if their concern is falsely placed.
No, I really like how you talk about how she's like, I will stay behind and pretend to sleep to make them feel better. It's very much in a lot of stories like, oh, I'm a woman, I don't want to be left behind, pout and stomp foot, because I can hold the sword just like any man can. Where she's like, look, these guys want to feel big and protective of me.
Yeah.
I'll let them do it.
Yeah, she'll look after the men by letting them think they're looking after her, basically. Yeah. That's
way more feminine virtue than hiding in the cart and riding along behind,
endangering all their lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then they have to protect you.
Yeah.
Even if you don't need protecting, it doesn't matter. They have to protect you.
I was also, like, it's not this Victorian era so much, but a very common story trope is, like, the princess saying, I don't want to marry the man, right? Yeah. And it's like, tough luck, you're nobility. Like, that's the deal. Like, it sucks being if you're a noble, you're a servant or even a slave of the people.
Yeah.
And that's the deal. We will, to make up for it, we're going to give you treasure and wait on you hand and foot, but you don't get to choose who you marry.
Yeah.
And so it is a little, like, obviously it sucks to be born into a life you don't want, right?
Yeah.
But it's also like, there's a reason we're giving you all these riches. If you abdicate your riches, maybe we can talk, right? Like, give up everything, work for a living, and then maybe we can say you don't have to marry the noble, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, tough luck. Like, you don't get any of the benefits of being a nobility otherwise. Like, it's sort of the trade that, because then it is rough being a king, right? Like, or a queen. Like, you do have to, everything's political. And that sucks. People hate politics.
Well, even part of that, of Lucy wanting to marry all three men, is she probably chose Arthur. She probably chose Arthur because he's a lord.
Well, I think she just said she loved him the most, right? Like, but you think that was what made her decision was?
Probably. It's the more proper thing for her to do.
Right, because otherwise you've got
You're either marrying an American
whose
life, even though he spends a lot of time traveling, spends a lot of time in the UK, he is an American.
Yeah.
And he's going to go back to Texas. Or you're going to be marrying
the psychiatrist.
The psychiatrist who has to do his job.
And if you marry the psychiatrist, you're sort of ticking off a lord as well, I guess. Like, you're snubbing a lord, which doesn't look great. And Lucy's also, like, very minor nobility or something.
Not minor.
No.
She's, like, middle nobility.
Okay.
Both her and Arthur are middle nobility.
Okay. Yeah, they're, I also thought it was funny, just going back to Victorian society.
Because they're both lords, so they're not like a viscount or countess or any of those things. So they're just lords.
Yeah.
But they're lords with money and land.
Going back to Victorian culture, it was also interesting how when John Harkin is doing some detective work to figure out where every box of Dracula's earth has gone, which is the implication Dracula took dirt from Israel and corrupted it?
It's holy dirt from his own homeland graveyard.
Okay, yeah.
That's why he wants to move into the chapel.
Okay.
So vampires have to sleep. It's not actually earth of their homeland. It's literally they have to sleep in holy earth.
Yeah.
Their existence is an anathema. Well, and so graveyard dirt is holy dirt.
That's the biggest thing about vampires, in this book at least, that I haven't seen like anywhere else, even though Dracula was supposedly very influential, was Dracula isn't powerless during the daylight, right? Like, he actually, at noon, sunset, and sunrise, is able to change form.
Yeah.
Even when the sun's out.
He can cross the river when it's high tide or low tide.
Yeah.
And if it's not those times, he just can't cross it by his own will, but he can have someone take him across a river. So if he goes into a box, they can pick up the box and bring him across. He isn't strong during daylight, so he no longer has the strength of 20.
Well, he is, though. Like, this is the thing. Like, I knew that Dracula doesn't die in sunlight or anything, right? He loses his powers. Except that's not quite true, because at noon, when the sun's at its highest, he actually has all his powers. Because he has his powers at transitional times.
Yeah.
So at the midpoints is when his power is at its strength, at its highest. So he has like full power at noon. He has full power at sunset, sunrise. Like it's so common in vampire stories for sunrise to come and the vampire's like, "Wah!" But Dracula's strong at sunrise.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is strongest at night.
Yeah, but
that's when he's at his greatest terror.
But he has like moments throughout the day, like high tide, low tide, sunrise, sunset, noon, where he actually has his power back for a brief moment.
Yeah.
But if he turns into like a dog at noon, then he's stuck as a dog until sunset.
One of the really cool things about Dracula is he doesn't know the own extent and rules and limits of his own power.
Yeah.
So Dracula's uncertain if he can touch his own grave dirt. And so before he has other people move the boxes, and they're heavy. And then later on,
he carries it on his own.
Well, later on he thinks he can help someone move it, and so he helps someone carry it. And then later on he's like, maybe I can move it by himself. And when he does that, that's terrifying for everyone because Dracula can move his own grave dirt.
Yeah, so he can be anywhere now.
Yeah.
And it's also weird like that he has to...
I love also the description of him, because we're talking about Dracula being a cluster B.
Yeah.
Is Van Helsing says he has a child's brain. A great big child's brain. So while we have our man brains, we have the advantage over him, but his brain is much bigger and older than ours and greater than ours, but it's a child's brain, and we have that advantage over him. But we have to be careful because he's always growing.
Well, I think the implication is Dracula is either Vlad the Impaler or Vlad's father. Like, because they say he is the first of that great house. And the guy that earned the Dracul title, because Dracul means dragon. Basically, it was an order of men in Romania that was founded in order to push back the Turks. Yeah. That were the dragons. And Vlad Tepes's father was the first of his family to be a dragon. Yeah. So Dracula is either Vlad or Vlad's father, as far as I can tell.
Well, he's not. He's Dracula. Yeah, but he's based off Vlad.
Yeah, but like in the story, they say he's the first of that great house, right? So,
yeah, no, it's actually very interesting as well. Is because Van Helsing's friend in Budapest tells him about the history of Dracula and vampires. Yeah, he's basically Dracula was a great man who did many great things. And he has ancestors who are good and great people. Yeah. Some of the greatest of men. However, Dracula now is lesser.
Yeah, he became corrupted over time.
And then he did alchemy in devil country.
So yeah, he lives in sacred dirt, but the way to stop that is to make the dirt even more sacred. Yes. Or to make it less sacred, I guess, if you could.
Actually, that's another thing, is the holy wafers.
Yeah.
He
had to buy an indulgence in order to steal holy wafers.
Yeah, but
that's the most Catholic thing ever.
They're horrified when he's waving them about and using them as a weapon. They're like, what are you doing, Van Helsing? Why are you using the wafers so flippantly? And then I love how...
He's like, I have an indulgence.
Yeah, they're wielding in one hand a knife and the other hand a wafer. Like you usually think of a vampire hunter as holding a cross and a knife, but it's like, no, they do use cross. Actually what they're doing is they're holding a cross and a wafer at the same time.
Yeah. It's like, I got my cracker and I got my dagger. I'm ready to fight.
And then when he imprisons Lucy in her tomb,
he uses putty.
He uses putty and wafers crumbled together to make a barrier.
Yeah. No, it's...
Actually, that's a different kind of really creepy thing about Dracula and Dracula's brides. So Dracula eats people. Yeah. His brides eat children.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also his brides seem to actually... I think the implication is that they actually, devour them. Yeah. Whereas Dracula more takes their... spirit and soul and mind.
The later brides, the more deprived the brides become, the more or they devour them. Yeah. Lucy is so early on that she's only draining their blood.
Yeah. But there seems to suggest that they actually just devoured the child
baby. Yeah,
completely. Whereas Dracula, and going back to Dracula having a child's brain, it's interesting when he learns that there's hunters after him, basically. Yeah. And so what he decides to do, this is a man with the strength of 20 men. Yeah. He could tear through a room and kill everyone in an instant. Mm-hmm. But he can't enter a building unless he's invited in. Yeah. So first he has to get invited into the insane asylum. Yeah. But he manages to pull that off with a little bit of trickery. So he gets invited into the insane asylum, and then instead of killing everyone in there,
he decides to cuck them. Or try to cuck them.
Yeah.
His plan, so Dracula's ultimate plan to fight the vampire hunter crew is to turn the woman they all love into a vampire, thus corrupting her. And then he's going to turn all the men into vampires and make them his hunting jackals for him. Dracula's plan, Dracula's vengeance, Dracula's way of fighting the vampire hunters is basically to cuckold all of them.
Yeah, it's there's only there's like that professor in Budapest, and then there's like 6 other people on Earth that know how to kill you.
Yeah.
And instead of just instantly snapping their necks,
Yes.
you decide you're going to do this petty revenge plan where you keep John awake and hold him in place while you force Lucy to drink blood from your chest. It's like, you could have killed them anytime, and you're just like, I'm going to do this super petty, like, now you'll see my revenge.
Yes.
And
like, also...
he almost even gets killed by Renfield.
Well, I love Renfield's logic. It's like, I was more sane than I've ever been. And I figured, wait, I'm a madman. And madmen apparently have unnatural strength. And so I thought, maybe I myself could strike down this evil creature with my madman strength. And so I started to fight him. And he grew afraid because I was strong.
But the crazy thing is, he doesn't even attack, like, the man Dracula. There's, like, mist going through his room, and he starts strangling the mist.
And then the mist breaks his back.
Yeah. Well, that's because Dracula has to use his powers to sap his strength.
Yeah.
Like, Renfield's stronger than Dracula, which...
For a moment.
Which is weird, because Renfield is shown that 5 men can take him down at one point, right? Like, Renfield's shown to be much stronger than, like, 2 or 3 men.
Yeah.
But when they have, like, all the orderlies on him, they take him down. Dracula has the strength of 20 men. But is Renfield stronger than Dracula?
So it's basically, the thought in Victorian times is that insane men, lunatics, which is what they're called, had moments, bursts of strength,
and so
where
that's
it's
like,
not forever. So that's like, basically he put all of his lunatic strength into fighting Dracula. So you could basically imagine of Renfield briefly turning into a werewolf to fight Dracula.
He went Super Saiyan.
But that can only last for a moment, whereas Dracula is the unerring power of darkness. He's the creeping cold that slowly drains you. Like, that's the Dracula. Some of his powers and feats are based off of Carmilla.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that Dracula and the vampires can do is they can turn small.
Yeah.
I just, when I heard that, I thought about your dwarves.
Yeah.
And I'm less unhappy with your dwarves now being vampires, because I love the image of, like, it's sort of implied that, like, they can turn sideways, they can turn really thin.
And
but I love the
between gaps and stuff. Yeah.
They can also become big.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of tiny Dracula. Like, he's only an inch tall running around. And
well, what I don't like about Dracula's powers, apparently, is that a vampire needs to be let into a house, but only once, and then they can enter that house forever. And it doesn't matter if the door is open or closed once they've been invited in.
Yeah.
They can still go through it.
Yeah.
So you can't just lock the door and bar the windows. They can go through the window. And
that's why I have to hang garlic everywhere.
Yeah. But
and then, so Carmilla also has the power to slip through things.
Yeah.
But her strength is when she, a retired general swings a sword at her. I told you about this earlier. And she grabs his wrist.
Yeah.
And she crushes the bones in it. But also, all the strength is drained from his entire arm when he drops the sword, and he can no longer fight her with that arm. And at a different point, he swings a sword at her, and she grabs the sword blade, and, like, ice runs through it. It's not described as ice, but basically a coldness goes through it, and the general collapses as she drains the energy from him.
That's the problem with 4th and 5th edition D&D, actually. So because it gave me, like, reading Dracula has given me a ton of ideas for, like, an actual vampire in my first heroes, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is you can't give a vampire a list of powers because that's not what a vampire has, right? Mm-hmm. What they say about Dracula is he has command over all brutish things.
Yes.
So it's not like he can control rats and moths and dogs and wolves. It's like, no.
He also has control over lunatics.
He has command over all brutish things. Yeah. So if you come up, if a new technology is invented, and it's a very brutish technology, Dracula will have command over it. And same thing with Carmilla, right? She is a creature of evil and she will weaken and corrupt you, right? Yeah. So if she grabs your arm, it's like the Witch King has stabbed you with a Morgul blade. Like, you are going to become weakened by her.
Yes.
Like, her presence... And Dracula's the same thing, where his presence is to be insane and weak and clouded. And so his powers are unlimited. It's just what he does.
The only reason they can fight Dracula at all...
Because he traded, to get those powers, he had to trade limitations. Yeah. So that's one of the key distinctions that Van Helsing makes is men are limitless. They can do anything. Yeah. Whereas Dracula is very strictly limited. He can't cross running water. He can't go out in sunlight or he loses... Like, his powers are gone in sunlight. Yeah. He can only sleep... I mean, his safe zones are pretty huge, but he can only sleep either in his dirt, in his home, or there was another one he could shelter. But he has tons of little limitations. He can't be invited in. He can't touch roses or garlic or ash, I believe, like mountain ash or something.
So he can touch roses, but if you put a rose on his coffin, he can't open it.
Yeah. So he's got tons of little limitations. But the thing is, it's not that he's weak to roses and garlic and mountain ash. It's that powerfully effective remedies keep him at bay. So you could imagine...
That's why garlic affects him. It's just a powerful remedy.
So up here, you could imagine like a distillation of poplar syrup or something.
Yeah. Well, so I put up some of my decorations around, and I've hung them at different points in my house as my god's eyes.
Yeah.
And my god's eyes would actually annoy Dracula. I don't think they would stop him, but...
They give him those evil eye awards, like at the start of this book. Right?
Yeah, but no, they're given the symbol and things to ward off in various different ways. So, and they annoy him.
Yeah.
So my god's eyes that have sprinkled about the house now would slow a vampire down, like Dracula.
Well, he also he hates things that are sacred. So so you could have a beloved teddy bear potentially could hold him back if it's like sacred, right? And, well, I guess sacred has a more technical definition than that. But
one of the other interesting things is Dracula's the greatest of all vampires. Because he was a great man before he became a vampire. And so vampires are actually turgid, stupid creatures. And there will never again be a vampire like Dracula.
Well, I was kind of given the impression like vampires create other vampires.
Yeah.
But if you get rid of Dracula, it's basically over. Like, the other vampires are so much less effective at the whole...
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. Dracula is a terrifyingly powerful vampire, but he is in Romania.
Yeah.
And the thing about vampires is a vampire can only exist in... A vampire like Dracula, I guess. To become a vampire without being bitten by a vampire, the only way for that to exist is you're in a stagnant, dying country, and you spend long years... Sorry, I'm saying this wrong. So, when Dracula became a vampire, he was in the greatest country on Earth.
Yeah.
But becoming a vampire sucks. It makes you really weak at the beginning, actually. You have a lot of problems. And when Dracula is finally powerful, he is in a country of small-minded people with a ton of superstitions. And those superstitions are actually to their advantage because they don't invite people in at night. They have crosses everywhere. They ward off wolves. They kill flies. They kill rats. So they kill all his spies. And so he only has command over the gypsies and nomads that worship him as a dark god who gives them gold.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, Dracula's the coachman. And he is looking for treasure piles by those blue lights on Halloween night, or whatever it is.
May 5th, I think.
May 5th.
Yeah.
And he gathers all that money. And it's like he could have done that at any point. But this time he does it because he's finally enacting his plan, which he's planned for like 50 years.
Yeah.
And he's gathering this money as funds to go to England. And the terrifying thing is once Dracula's in England, if he starts turning people into vampires, they'll be vampires in a new country without superstition.
Yeah.
And you will have a plague of vampires take over England, never stopping, never erring. And they will all have the mind of Dracula as he is now, because he is now he needs new thoughts, new minds, new life to grow. Dracula reflects the lands he's in. So when he moves to London, he actually becomes greater.
Yeah.
Because it's the greatest city on earth, and it's making him greater by being there because the land reflects him.
Well, he starts getting younger, like when he moves to London, so it's obviously good for him. The fresh sea air, maybe.
Yeah, fresh sea air, fresh young blood.
It's interesting though because he stops with his coaching thing to pick up the treasure.
Yeah.
But when Harkin sneaks into his bedroom, which he doesn't actually ever spend any time in, there's like piles of gold up against the wall with dust over him because it's never been touched. Like he's this insanely wealthy guy, but he has no use for his money.
He doesn't go anywhere in his castle.
Yeah, and he has no use for his money. He just piles it up in the corners because he's like, what else am I gonna do with it?